Do you think she's dead? A question Franz Detroit and Tiens Kruger pondered after they had just savagely attacked 27-year-old Alison Botha, who lay naked and bleeding in the sand. No one can survive that. The two men left the scene of their crime, certain that their identities would die with their victim. But they were wrong. I'm Marina. With me I have my best friend Laura, and this is Grim.
Heavy sigh. Heavy. I was so disturbed by your intro that I almost forgot to hit the intro music.
I have forewarned Laura about this case. This is very different from anything I've ever covered before. I will never forget this case.
Oh my God.
From henceforth.
I'm so stressed. Also, we've been talking about it on the Discord server, like not explicitly, but Marina was like asking people if they've heard of it. And I'm already worried because of the reactions people had.
I'll never get over it. Ugh. So today we are talking about the kidnapping of Alison Botha. This case was suggested to us by our gremlin, Cheyenne R.
I already hate you, Cheyenne.
Thank you so much for your suggestion. I can assure you I was not ready for this case either. But speaking of gremlins, we have some Patreon shout outs first. Woo, woo, woo. First up, we have Deirdre LW.
Deirdre LW, we love you.
We love you so much. Next, we have Brianna N.
Brianna.
Ooh, that was a nice harmony. Woo, we love you, Brianna. Get out of my head. Next up, we have Becky.
Becky.
Woo, you go,
Woo,
Becky.
Becky.
Woo, woo, we love you.
We love you.
We have Abby LG.
Abby,
we love you.
We love you.
We love you so much. Thank you. Next up, we have D.
D.
We love you, D.
We love you, D.
Woo, woo. We have EVW.
EVW.
We love you.
We love you,
Thank
Evie.
you so much. Willow M.
Willow, I love your name.
We love you so much.
We love you.
Thank you. We have Eva.
Oh,
from
I love
Wally.
that movie
I know.
so much.
We have Eva. Thank you so much.
We love you. Thank you.
That's a really cute movie.
I love
it's
that
so
movie.
cute. Eva.
Oh,
I'm kind of good at it, right?
yeah. It's really good.
We have Elise E. Woo, woo.
Elise,
we love you so much.
Elise. Thank you.
Amanda G.
Amanda G.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Montana.
Woo,
Montana, we
you're a
love
great state.
you.
We love you.
Woo. Is Montana a great state?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never been there. Is it a
I-
flyover state?
No.
I'm geographically
No,
challenged.
it's like Northwest, and I hate when this is recorded. It's like, do you know the United States? But no, it's actually, I did a report on Montana in like, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade and loved it. Became obsessed
Did
with it.
you?
Yeah. I can't tell you anything about it, but I really loved it. And the views are spectacular everywhere. And I would like to go there. Part of Yellowstone is in Montana.
Oh, okay. This is a fun fact about me. When I was taking a geography class in elementary school, they asked what the main export of one of the states was, and I wrote cold cuts.
Why do I know that story?
I probably told you. I like to tell stories over and over and over
I
again.
have a feeling this is not one of the stories I'm going to want you to tell
No.
over and
Nope.
over again.
One and done
I believe
for you, ma'am.
warned me that this would be the last of my happiness.
Yes.
Was the Patreon shout outs.
It is dark. It's grim.
It's grim.
It's grim. So for this case, I relied on a book written by Mariana Tam called I Have Life, Alison's Journey.
Oh my God.
I read most of the book absolutely slack-jawed, but there's a happy ending. I highly, highly, highly recommend the book. I mean, really, just everyone should just get it and read it. So seriously. All right, so let's get into it. Alison Botha was born on September 22nd, 1967 in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. She lived with her mother and brother during most of her childhood, as her parents had divorced when she was just 10 years old. Alison had a normal childhood. She went to the collegiate high school for girls in Port Elizabeth and served as head girl, which gives me Harry Potter vibes. After finishing school, she traveled for a bit before returning home and landing a job as an insurance broker.
Oh.
We love insurance.
We love insurance.
Allison was beloved by friends and family. She was described as loyal, considerate, and honest. She never forgot a birthday or important date. An important date.
Or how to talk.
Or an...
That was so loud.
It was. My neighborhood's loud tonight.
Yeah. That was far away, though.
It was.
Okay. Just for the gremlins.
Yeah.
They're wondering if we're recording on a racetrack.
We are. Okay, so she never forgot a birthday or an important date. I have an aunt that's like that, and it's so impressive to me. You always get like the birthday card, anniversary card, like anything, like a day before the day even comes up.
Nice.
Her coworker Kim said one winter she showed up to Allison's depressed and overweight. Allison let her stay there for 2 weeks in her guest room, and she set up a basket with towels, bars of soap, aromatherapy, and treats. A generous, thoughtful person who put herself before others.
Is your next sentence, she lit up a room?
Dare we say she lit up a room? On December 18th, 1994, 27-year-old Allison had a perfect summer day in Port Elizabeth. She spent the afternoon at the beach with her friend Kim and Kim's sons, Devin and Jared. After the beach, Allison went over Kim's house where two of their friends, Phil and Michael, stopped by unexpectedly, and now it was a party. They all hung out on Kim's balcony, enjoying the beautiful evening and the company. Not wanting the night to end, they all then headed to Allison's house to have some pizza, drink some wine, and play a game of balderdash. But like all good things, the night came to an end. Phil and Michael left, and Allison drove Kim home in her little yellow Renault 5 that she called Reginald. For anyone who heard her Baumeister Peabody, she could bang a Reginald in Reginald. It sounds dirty, but it's just a right turn. After dropping off Kim, Allison returned to her flat around 1 a.m. When she got there, all of the good parking spots close to her apartment were taken, as most of the people were likely at home asleep at that time of night. The only spot that she could find was one under a large old tree, a spot that the streetlights didn't quite touch. Allison backed Reginald into her parking spot, flicked off the headlights, and then reached toward the passenger seat to grab her clean laundry to bring inside. At that moment, she felt a gust of warm air as her driver's side door was opened by a man that had been lurking in the shadows.
I have full goosebumps right now.
He pressed a long, thin knife to her neck and said, "Move over or I'll kill you."
Oh my God.
Allison did as she was told, and the man drove her car out into the street. Allison strongly considered jumping out of the moving car, but she was just frozen in place.
See, didn't we talk about that in a case?
Fight, flight, or freeze?
Yeah. And but there was one, maybe it might have been during Ed Kemper, where we said, like, just jump out of the car. But
Right.
I said, I don't know that I would. I think I would literally be like, oh, maybe I'm safer. I don't know what I would think. I think it is the freeze.
I think my panic would be if the door was locked and if I went to grab the handle to jump and the door was locked and I couldn't get out, like if they would react and hurt me.
Or if I hesitated and, because it is a little hard to jump out of a moving car.
Yes.
Even though he probably wasn't going that fast yet. But I could see, I guess my point is I could see myself doing that same thing.
Yeah. I would assume it's one of those, like, your instincts take over and you just, like, you think of it and you just do it to save your life.
I would like to never be in that position.
For sure. For sure. I'm pretty sure I would freeze, though. I have zero reflexes whatsoever and zero self-preservation instincts.
I just like to overthink everything.
I would be like, if I sit really, really still, maybe he'll forget that I'm here. Yeah, like a dog with, like, their head in the pillow.
Oh, God. Oh, poor Allison. And given that we have a lot of case to go, obviously that would have but would it have even solved anything? Even if she had jumped out, he obviously would have seen her do that. Would he have gone and gotten her? I don't know. Oh, ugh. Okay.
Or maybe
I know we're on, like, page 2. Sorry.
I know we are. Okay. You look so I've really hyped this case up, so now you're, like,
I'm
super
really
stressed about it.
I'm like hunched and I have my hands, like, under my knees. Ugh.
It won't help. The man kept the knife on the seat next to him closest to the driver's side door. He needed help turning on the headlights, and Allison obliged. The man then said to Allison, "Don't worry, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to use your car for an hour." I would have been like, "You can have it for as long as you want. Just please let me out."
Yeah.
Just casually chatting about how he essentially stalked her, he said, "You live in number 1, don't you?" Then asked her name. Allison told him her name was Susan, and the man identified himself as Clinton. Both lying.
Yeah, interesting.
Both lying. Hoping to obtain useful information to try to escape, Allison asked where Clinton was from, but he said, "I'd rather not tell you anything about me." Clinton asked Allison if she lived alone, and she said that her boyfriend was at home waiting for her, which is smart. She said, "Why don't you just let me get out and take the car?" Like I said.
Yep.
Clinton told her that he wanted company and that he needed to find a friend who stole his TV and owed him money. On their route, Alison saw a police van up ahead. She was running through her options, jump out, yell, honk the horn, push the man. But before they got close enough, the police van pulled down a side street and out of their path.
Oh my God.
Allison and Clinton proceeded on to Main Street, an area of Port Elizabeth where people were milling about, pouring out of the local club. And I think we've talked about this in another case where you're surrounded by people, but completely and utterly alone. It was Colleen's Stan. Yep. After much frustration and a couple laps around the area, Clinton found the man he was looking for. The man got into the car, and Clinton, ever the gentleman, made introductions. Clinton said, "Meet my friend Susan. This is Tians." The men chatted casually and smoked while Allison sat in the back seat, wondering where they were going and plotting ways to get home from there. Oof. She was hopeful that they would just let her go.
Yep.
As they continued to drive, they reached the end of the city, and the streetlights came to an end. Ugh. The road was flanked on each side by trees and finbows, which are beautiful flowering shrubs. Google them. With no other cars in sight. Allison, who had managed to stay calm earlier, was starting to feel the dread and fear creep into her gut. They were on a road in a nature preserve with several sandy lanes that headed into clearings. Allison had never felt safe on that road at night because the only people out there were those who wanted to engage in illegal sex.
Oh.
Yep. Her fate uncertain, Allison could do nothing but sit and wonder where the men were taking her. Finally, Clinton found what he was looking for and pulled the car into an alcove on the beach. He drove the car into the sand where it got stuck. Clinton got frustrated, and Allison actually feared that they would put her under the tire and use her body as a means to get traction and escape.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was starting to panic and spiral and think horrible things.
Yeah.
After a moment of tension, Clinton found traction and parked the car, which was facing the road about 90 meters away, which is about 100 yards, or a football field,
Thank you.
like you always say.
Yeah.
The area was strewn with litter, shards of broken bottles, beer cans, and paper. Tians got out of the car, and Clinton and Allison sat in silence. Allison, unable to stand the silence any longer, said, "Now what?"
That would literally be me because I'm a silence filler.
Yeah.
Everyone who works with me knows it's a problem on meetings when you're brainstorming and trying to get people to think. I'm like, so is everybody good? They're like, yeah, we're trying to think. Thanks. Anyway, so I just relate to that.
So read any good books?
Yeah. How about them Red Sox?
So Allison says, "Now what?" And Clinton said he thought she would have realized already that they wanted sex.
Ugh.
Clinton asked Allison if she was going to fight. Allison deliberated her options, realizing she wouldn't get far if she ran, and she felt like they would let her go if she did what they asked. She told Clinton that she would comply. Clinton told her to undress, and she did, still wearing her bathing suit from her day at the beach. Meanwhile, Clinton pulled down his pants, grabbed Allison's head, and demanded she perform fellatio. He said, "If you bite me, I'll kill you," the knife next to Allison's head. After an unknown amount of time, Clinton grabbed Allison's head, pushed her to the seat, and put his face between her legs. He said, "Does your boyfriend do this to you? Do you like it?"
Sick.
Allison said no, hoping he would stop. Clinton then made his way to Allison's breast, giving her a hickey before kissing her. She said he tasted like nicotine. A moment of levity for you?
Please.
I thought of Forrest Gump, where he goes, "She tasted like cigarettes."
Thank you. Because I'm very upset. Because
I know,
I'm
and
thinking
you look very stressed.
I'm very stressed because I'm just thinking I probably would have thought the same thing.
Right.
God, please, it's horrible to be assaulted like that, but I would like to live. Right. So, okay, I can't get out of this situation. I can't fight. I'm not going to win this. There's two of them, maybe more.
I know. So you just have to endure it.
Oh, it turns my stomach.
Yeah. Awful.
God.
This is not going to make your stomach feel any better. He said to her, "You have the nicest tasting fanny."
Ew. Did he say fanny?
Fanny.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know. This is South Africa, though.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know.
They use the word fanny.
Fanny? I don't know. Maybe Fanny is not American.
I mean,
much.
But yeah, no.
Anyways.
Certainly not in an offensively sexual way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Then he raped her. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow there.
And I am sorry to laugh, but that was just kind of a funny.
I am laughing out of discomfort. If it's any consolation.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
She kept telling herself that he's only doing this to her body, but not to her.
Oh my God.
So she was disassociating to get through it.
So strong.
Clinton finished and then asked through the open window if Tians wanted to have sex with the lovely lady.
Oh.
Tian said, no, I want to fuck the fucking bitch. Clinton told him not to talk to her like that. She's a lady. Fuck you, Clinton.
Maybe that's why he said Fanny.
Like you're a knight in shining armor.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Fuckface. Tian's got in the car and climbed between Allison's legs while Clinton watched. He raped her, but after starting, he said, no, I can't do this, pulled up his pants, and got out of the car.
What?
Mm-hmm. Clinton was starting to doze off, and Allison just sat there naked.
Yeah.
She asked if she could get dressed, and when he didn't respond, she got dressed anyways. Teens was sitting on the hood of the car, and that's when Allison saw a huge hunting knife in his belt with a 20-centimeter blade about 8 inches long.
Oh, my God.
Allison was taking the time to study both men, memorize their faces, their clothing, their mannerisms. Allison was staring at Teens when he yelled out, Franz. Clinton wasn't really Clinton. I'm going to refer to him as Franz from here on out, but Franz equals Clinton.
Okay, all right.
Franz turned to Allison and said, if we take you into town now, you're going to go to the police. Allison felt relief that it was almost over. She lied and said she wouldn't because she didn't want her parents to find out about what happened to her.
Smart.
Franz said he didn't believe her. He asked Tians if they should leave her out here with no clothes. One of them said, what do you think Nick would want us to do with her? Which is another name for Satan.
Oh.
The reply, I think he wants us to kill her. Allison thought that they were just bluffing to scare her. Franz told her to take her clothes off again. They saw Allison's jewelry and demanded she hand it over. She had on a puzzle ring and she undid it before she handed it to him, which I love that small little act of defiance.
Yep.
Franz then quickly got on top of Allison and began strangling her. Allison was able to rasp out the words, please don't kill me. But all he said was sorry.
Oh my God.
He squeezed her neck harder. She released her bowels, and the last thing she felt was embarrassed. And then everything went black, like shutting off a TV screen.
My God.
And that was just the beginning. Allison awoke and sucked cold air into her lungs, realizing that she was now outside of the car, lying on the ground. She could see one of the men moving his arm back and forth over her. She couldn't feel it, but she could hear it. The man was slashing at her throat.
What?
She could hear the flesh splitting on each swing, counting 8 blows to her neck. He stopped, and she heard mumbling and footsteps. Instinctively, she turned onto her stomach, needing to protect herself. She was afraid they'd come back, but they didn't. She realized at this point she needed to play dead. She could hear a low growling noise like a dog, and she realized it was coming from her.
Oh my God.
She tried to hold her breath, but she couldn't, so she put her hand up to her neck. Her whole hand slipped inside her throat. She could hear the men speaking in Afrikaans. Do you think she's dead? The other replied, no one can survive that.
Oh my God.
The men got into Allison's car and drove away. As Allison lay there dying, she decided she had to do something. She wrote out Franz and Tiens in the sand along with I love mom and squared it off with a border.
Oh my God. I have goosebumps.
And then Allison died. Her spirit hovering above her mangled body. She said she had a choice. Go back and fight or just be free. She considered that she had so much life left to live, and at that time, she saw headlights through the bushes, and they were closer than she originally thought. And just like that, she was back in her body, ready to fight. But the battle had truly just begun. She pushed herself up onto her hands and knees, her head hanging down to her chest. She felt something strange and wet on her stomach. When she looked down, she saw that it was her intestines.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
She tried to scoop them back up into her body, but they were too slippery and kept slipping from her fingertips. She needed to do something, so she reached around in the sand and felt a denim shirt. She bundled up her intestines inside of it and then tied it around her stomach.
Oh my God.
She felt no pain, but the ordeal was unnerving to her, which I don't think is the right word.
No.
No, I don't think there's a word in actually any language to describe that experience.
Fully agree.
She began crawling through the sand and broken glass, cutting her hands and knees, but she didn't care.
Yeah.
Progress was painstakingly slow, and she was so tired. Her inner voice told her that it was okay to give up if she wanted to. But giving up scared her more than death. In that moment, she thought of her mother and how if they found her dead with that long trail of blood, her mother would know that she struggled and suffered, and she couldn't do that to her.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
So she decided that she needed to get up and walk because crawling was taking too long. She managed to stand up, and as she did, everything went black.
Well, yeah.
Her head had tipped back and rested nearly between her shoulder blades.
I'm sorry I hit the microphone because I'm literally holding onto the table.
She had been nearly decapitated.
Oh, how? I mean, to what? I forget who said it, but Franz, how could no one could survive that?
There's no explanation.
How on earth is she?
There's no explanation. We'll go through all of it, but it defies explanation.
I can't even process what you just said. I mean, I am. That's the problem. But
yep. So with one hand holding her intestines in with the shirt, she used her other hand to grab her head and pull it back forward.
Oh my God.
Her vision returned, but it faded in and out. She put her hand back on her throat to try to stop the noise and blood, but there really was nothing left of her neck. She carried on, one foot in front of the other, propelled by some otherworldly strength. Despite her condition, all she could think about was that her sandals had slipped from her feet and were flapping behind her, still attached to her ankles. So annoyed by it, she actually bent over and managed to unbuckle them. It defies logic. She continued on, feeling the bushes to her side as her sight came in and out. She was overcome with joy when she realized she made it to the road. She knew she would die if she just lay down on the gravel on the side of the road because she'd likely go unnoticed. She had the wherewithal to see there was a large white arrow indicating a curve, so she walked a little further, knowing someone was likely to hit her if she was just around the bend. Satisfied with her location, she plopped down on the middle of the road with her head to the side, with nothing to do now but wait and stay alive.
Oh my God.
And there it was, a car. It came to a stop, the headlights shining on her. No one got out for what felt like a very long time. She convinced herself that it was Franz and Tien's and they were coming back to finish the job.
I literally thought that's what you were going to say.
Nope. The car then sped around her and drove away.
Oh my God.
Alison panicked, but soon more cars came. She heard doors slam and lots of voices. A woman walked over and began screaming hysterically when she looked at Alison. Alison thought, get this woman away from me. I do not need this right now.
For real. Like,
fair.
Lady, your drama is unnecessary.
Right.
Like, I'm the one that should be screaming.
Right. Get away from me.
Wow.
Around 2:45 a.m., 90 minutes after Alison was taken, help was there. Tien Eilert knelt in front of her and looked her in the eyes. She tried to speak, but he told her to relax.
Wait, say that name again?
Tien Eilert.
I thought it was Teens.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Tien.
I got really scared.
No.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's Tien.
No, that's as long as it's different.
It is different. Yes.
Thank you.
The names are really hard, guys. I'm doing my best.
You always look it up and you always do your best.
Thank you. Tien was an incredibly calming presence for Alison, and she felt that he was in control. He was training to be a vet tech and was in Port Elizabeth on vacation from Johannesburg. He was only a year into school, but he had some knowledge of anatomy.
And he went, oh, fuck.
Yes. He assessed her injuries and saw that her neck was slashed from ear to ear. Her pulse was weak and her tongue was pale, a sign of significant blood loss.
I'll say.
She was deathly pale, her skin cool to the touch. He needed to stop the bleeding.
I can't believe she has any blood left in her body.
I know.
Like, it must be in her feet.
I know.
Like,
it's unfathomable.
I don't even think that is significant enough for this. I'm trying so hard not to hit the microphone with
something. It's something. Tien realized there was something hanging out of her neck. He wasn't sure if it was her thyroid or part of her trachea, but he tucked it back inside to keep it moist. He removed his shirt and applied pressure to her neck. Tien knew he had to keep Alison alive. He had to keep her conscious. He was speaking to her, and she squeezed his hand and pointed to the shirt around her stomach. Tien lifted it and saw a pile of her intestines covered in twigs and leaves.
Oh my God.
He was literally shocked she was still alive.
Yeah.
Insane. His friends had gone to call the police and an ambulance, but they were taking a frustratingly long time to arrive. They massaged Alison's legs, working to keep her blood circulating.
Oh my God.
Another Samaritan arrived and had a blanket in the car for emergencies that they lay over Alison's mangled body. Tien needed to keep her talking and wanted information about what happened.
Yeah.
He told her to squeeze his hand once for yes and twice for no.
What a saint.
With that method, he was able to discern 2 men raped her and stole her car. Wow. He asked about the model of the vehicle, and she drew an R on his chest. He asked the color, and she traced a Y, a yellow Renault. Wow. Alison just wanted to close her eyes, but Tian wouldn't allow it. Every time he looked away, she would close them, and he'd bring her back when he noticed. Oh, my God. Tian told her green eyes were beautiful, and she smiled.
Tell me they get married and everybody's fine. Oh, my God, please.
They don't get married.
Okay, I accept this anyway. That's okay. It's okay. I just love them.
He told her that she had to live because they would go out on a date, and she'd pay because she ruined his shirt. She smiled again. This went on for 2 hours before the ambulance came.
So she's been alive now 3.5 hours-ish from her attack. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
She was put on a stretcher, and Tian went with her in the ambulance, talking to her the whole time, frustrated at the pace at which the whole situation was moving. They brought her into the Port Elizabeth Provincial Hospital casualty unit, and the doctors took over at about 4:30 a.m.
Can you imagine what I don't know if they're EMTs in South Africa, but like, can you imagine what they were like?
We're not trained. Yeah, we're not trained for this.
Oh my God. Same with the doctors, even in a casualty unit.
Know.
Like, you're not expecting, because usually someone with those kinds of injuries are not alive.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Tian told her he would be there when she woke up. Oh. Alison was conscious while they worked on her. They turned their attention to her stomach, but she felt like she was choking on her blood. She panicked, wanting to stay alive for Tian now. Oh. She frantically waved until one of her teammates noticed what was happening, and they turned on the suction for her, which brought immediate relief.
Oh, good.
But then the gurgling returned. Alison was frustrated, and she missed Tian's comforting presence. Basically, she was thinking, I've made it this far. You guys can't screw this up for me. After some delay, they rushed her through the hospital to the OR. She was still conscious and was able to sign the consent form as well as give them her mother's phone number.
Okay, consent form? Are you fucking kidding?
I know.
But the mother's phone number.
And she's conscious, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
One of the doctors said he thought they were going to need a specialist. Allison panicked again that it was going to just take up more precious time.
Yeah.
The second doctor, Dr. Volodya Angelov, looked her over and said, I'm a thoracic surgeon. It's okay. And he looked Allison in the eyes and said, I can do it.
Oh, my God.
The anesthesiologist told her she can relax now. And then she was asleep. Dr. Angelov was warned before Allison arrived that this was a severe injury. When he entered the OR, he was amazed at the sight. Allison's entire body was covered in black sand. Her eyes had hemorrhaged and were blood red. Her hair was matted with sand, twigs, leaves, and dried blood. Her knees were cut and scraped, her feet covered in cuts, and her fingernails were black. The doctor looked at her neck wound, but kept a poker face. One of her neck tendons had been severed, and the doctor could clearly see her spinal cord.
Oh, my God.
Her thyroid had been split in 2 and tucked inside of her neck. The doctor noted that she should have died from that injury alone.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, nicking the thyroid during surgery can lead to substantial blood loss. People can die in like minutes.
For real?
Yep, from nicking your thyroid.
Hers is in half.
Split in half. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yep. The anterior muscles of her neck had been severed and retracted into the base of her skull, and her trachea had been severed. Her larynx was completely separated from the lower part of her trachea, and the main veins had been cut, but miraculously, her main arteries and voice box were intact.
Oh my God.
She should have choked on her own blood, but somehow didn't. And also miraculously, Franz had cut off her oxygen supply when he strangled her. She was able to get oxygen and regain consciousness because he had severed her trachea.
Fascinating. Oh my God. I'm blown away by this. You said you read the book, Slackjawed. I've sat here and all I've said is, oh my God. And my jaw has been hanging open.
I told you.
I was not prepared.
I will never get over this case as long as I live.
Oh my God.
And if there was ever a case study for miracles,
for real.
Hello.
Well, because think about, like you just said, that that she could breathe because of that her trachea was cut. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, like, was there some way that her head like went to the side that like stopped bleeding or like allowed her to breathe differently? Mm-hmm. Like this, it's insane. Mm-hmm. Insane.
Yep. The doctor then turned his attention to her abdomen. Her entire small intestine was on her stomach and was covered in leaves, twigs, dirt, and debris. It was also punctured with stab wounds, and thankfully her bowels were empty from when she was strangled, which kept those wounds from immediately getting infected and becoming septic.
See, I had a feeling there was a reason you mentioned that, and that's also insane. That's wow. One in whatever, I can't even think of the odds of all of these things coming together to allow her to live to this point.
I say it all the time, but I'm sorry. If it's not your time, it is not your time.
Holy shit.
And it was not her time.
No.
Dr. Angelov worked on her throat first, sewing the torn ligaments and tendons back together. He knew that if she could breathe, she could survive. Then he turned to her abdomen, having to wash her intestines twice with saline to get rid of the debris. Her uterus had 2 small nicks, which he fixed. He went through every inch of her intestine twice and stitched up any holes. He did his best to put her abdomen back together, but the skin had been shredded.
My God.
He just hoped it would hold enough for her to heal. Allison was wheeled out of the OR 3 hours later at 8:35 a.m.
That's impressive, actually.
It is impressive.
3 hours? Like, that's... Because I thought it was actually going to be a lot longer, because I was thinking, like, even being under anesthesia that long could be risky. I mean, any of it could be risky.
Right. And especially in that state with that amount of blood loss.
Yeah, I wonder if you'll give me stats on how much blood she lost, because she literally must... I think you have 7 pints of blood in your body. Maybe... I think she probably lost 6.95.
Yeah,
like,
no, literally.
How? Anyway.
There's no explanation. My next sentence is, the doctor said that he is a scientist, but he admitted that Allison's survival was truly a miracle. Oh, he couldn't explain it.
For real.
He couldn't explain it. Once out of surgery, Allison's mom, Claire, could finally come see her. She wasn't prepared for Allison's appearance. Her head was between 2 sandbags. Her eyes were bulging and full of blood. She had the large bandage on her neck, and there was a cage over her stomach to keep the blankets from her abdomen.
God.
Allison was so happy to see and speak with her mom.
I'm sure.
One of the first things she did was ask her mom to let her friend, who was supposed to visit her, know where she was. She didn't want her friend to think that she blew her off.
Oh my God.
We don't deserve this person.
No, the fact that she thought of her mom when she was literally dying was like, my mom can't find, I'm going to walk because my mom can't find this. And now she's thinking of her friend. Like,
it also blows my mind to think of she was in this state and now she's out of the OR 3 hours later and she's awake and talking to people.
Yeah.
It's insane. Allison's dad, Brian, flew in from Johannesburg, and he and Claire met with the doctor. The doctor explained that Allison was not yet out of the woods.
Right, of course not.
He feared she would get an infection from the debris that clung to her intestine, and he was also worried that her throat wound could thicken and constrict her airway.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Claire said she wasn't worried because she was religious, and God had told her Allison would be okay.
Well, listen, you know what? At this point, she knows more.
Yep.
Like, you know, you got it. You're right. You're right.
Yep. And Allison was okay. Wow. She made it past the danger zone with visitors and gifts pouring into her room the entire time. A police officer was one of the visitors, Nadia Swainpole. She had an idea who the suspects were, as she had seen one the day before at the mall. If she could get an ID on one, she thought she could link the other one, as both men were out on bail for a rape charge.
Pieces of absolute shit.
Turns out they were out on bail for 2 rape charges, and it didn't take long for the police to pick them up and find her car.
Hell yes.
With that out of the way, Allison could heal. Every accomplishment, like standing up or using the bathroom, was a milestone.
Yeah.
She begged to be let out of the hospital, but her doctor said, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which was good because her neck wound did end up getting infected. She noticed and she told one of the nurses, but they just poked at the swelling on her wound with a pen.
You're kidding me.
Nope. The odds were truly stacked against Allison at every turn.
Yeah.
The doctor came back in the next morning and was furious that he hadn't been called. The drains were reinserted. I said that weird.
The drains were reinserted. Sorry, I really need to laugh.
I know.
I'm like simultaneously happy because I'm just, she's so strong.
I know.
That's happy. But then I'm also blown away and I'm also angry and I'm also stressed.
Are you verklempt?
Yes.
You're verklempt.
I am the picture of verklemptness.
Verklempt.
Okay. Thank you for that moment.
You're welcome. Anyways, the drains were reinserted after previously being taken out, and the fluid was drained, and she healed again.
Unreal.
On December 31st, Alison was released from the hospital, ready to start the new year. After being released, she stayed with her mother. She was still in rough shape, understandably. Her stomach wound was weeping and needed daily care at the hospital, and she couldn't turn her neck at all, feeling as though it were in a tight brace.
Oof.
She returned to the scene of the crime with friends and took a photo with her foot on a log, flexing her arm. Like a badass fucking bitch.
Oh my God. I for sure, I couldn't even go down that road.
I know.
I don't think I could. Wow.
Yep. Allison told everyone that she was fine, so no one would worry, but she needed help coping. She sought therapy, which helped. She returned to work 2 months after the attack, feeling a renewed sense of energy.
So I was going to ask, so she got out of the hospital December 31st. Do you remember when the attack was?
December 18th.
Of course. Nuh-uh.
Yep.
She was only in the hospital for like 2 weeks. What? Okay. Okay. She's insane.
Miracle.
For real.
I'm going to call miracle. I know. I know. You would, I don't know. You would think even
longer after having a baby.
I know. You would think like that her abdomen would require like OT or something to like.
I was wondering that about the neck, like how your muscles rebuild, reconnect. How does that?
It would require a lot
surgery,
of physical therapy.
Right?
Yeah.
Holy
to like
shit.
strengthen those back up.
God. Wow.
So let's talk about the pieces of shit that did this to her. On December 19th, Nadia Swainpole and Jacques Van Renberg arrested Franz Detroit and Tiens Kruger at 5 a.m. while the men were still asleep.
Good.
These men had already been on the police radar. In February of that year, Franz had abducted and raped a 20-year-old at gunpoint. He was let out on bail because the rape was reported a week later, so there was no evidence. He had a stable job as a driver with a stationary supply company, and he also had a permanent address, so he wasn't a flight risk. On December 4th, about 2 weeks before the attack on Allison, Franz and Tiens had attacked and raped a 21-year-old pregnant woman on her way to buy cigarettes. I know.
You had me until the end there.
It's South Africa.
What, does nicotine not affect you there?
And in the 90s?
No, I think it's always, well, no, if you
it's always been 50s, bad, but like the 90s.
If you had said the 50s, I would have said okay. But anyway,
let's not judge her. She was an innocent victim.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
The two were arraigned before the case was assigned to an investigator, so the prior rape wasn't connected, and they were let out again on bail.
That's infuriating.
Detective Melvin Humble was assigned to all three cases.
I love him already.
I know, it's a great name, Melvin Humble. He interviewed Tiens first, who was only 19 years old.
What a piece of shit. Ruined many people's lives, but ruined your life because you're an idiot, to say the least.
Yep. I don't think idiot is the word.
No,
like,
I know. It really
evil.
Yeah.
Like Satanists.
Yeah.
The detective told him he was being investigated for rape and attempted murder. Tiens looked up at him and said, "Why attempted murder?"
Okay. I need a moment of levity right now. Do you know what shirt I have on?
It says, "If at first you don't succeed, it's only attempted murder."
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't know.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was fitting. It's fitting.
It's fitting.
But he said, "Why attempted murder?" And that's when Marvin told him that Allison survived.
Which also, what a fucking moron.
I know.
Like, so you're admitting that you tried.
He's like, why not murder?
Yeah,
why attempted murder?
Wow. Why? But in all seriousness, like his mind must have been like, what the actual fuck? Yeah.
How? Wow. Yep. He freaked and said, "Oh fuck, then it won't even help if I lie." No, it won't. No.
Well, what's so stupid? You said all of those things out loud.
You did. The
like
inside
you can
thoughts.
Think that.
The inside thoughts were said out loud. I mean, he was fucked though. So.
Well, yeah.
Tiens handed over the silver rings he was wearing, which were Allison's.
Ooh, that makes me even more angry.
Knowing that he was done for, he cooperated and explained everything.
Okay, good.
He explained that him and Franz had been drinking and barbecuing and decided to go find a beautiful girl to rape and kill. Tiens decided he wanted to go clubbing and told Franz to come find him if he got a girl. Tiens said that Franz helped him drag her out of the car. Tiens asked if she was dead, and Franz said, "Let's find out," and started stabbing her in the abdomen and her private parts, aiming for her reproductive organs.
What?
He stabbed her at least 30 times. Then Tiens heard a rasping sound and began slashing her throat. Franz pushed him out of the way and joined in, slashing her throat 16 times. They then ransacked her car, drove home, had a few beers, and went to sleep. He admitted to the December 4th rape as well. He brought an officer to the site of Alison's attack and turned over the huge hunting knife he had used to cut her throat.
Oh my God.
Tien said they used it that morning to prepare food for breakfast and that they didn't wipe Alison's blood off beforehand.
What is wrong with these people? Like, you're right, beyond somebody, like, okay.
Like, inherently
I was going to say, I don't know how to say this, like, appropriately, but there are people who go out and rape people, and they're also pieces of shit.
Right.
But they're, I don't know how to phrase this. That's where it ends for them. These fuckers are so evil. I don't have a better word for it. Like, it's so much beyond rape.
For sure. Well, I mean, they did try to kill her. Like,
I know.
It's like, it's rape and murder, but like, she should have died.
And like how they murdered her and keeping the rings and all that. Yes.
The savagery of it. It's like, I was talking about it today, and you just can't imagine the things that human beings will do to other human beings.
Yes.
Like, it's unfathomable. I'm going to keep saying it because it's...
For sure.
Yeah.
God. Also, I appreciate that anyone who has come in contact with Marina in the past, like, week or 2 weeks has been subjected to listening to details of this case.
Because it's almost like it's unbelievable, though. Like, she fucking fought and survived. Like, everyone should hear her story.
Yes. Oh, I completely agree. I'm just... feeling for the poor people who thought they were just going for a drink.
Oh, I know, because I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
There were some unsuspecting people at the restaurant I was at today that got an earful.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Anyway, but yes, I agree. Like, I will for sure be telling my husband about this when I get home.
It's the most unbelievable story I've ever heard. I've never heard anything like it before.
Wow.
So then Detective Humpel interviewed Franz. When the detective told him he was being charged with attempted murder, he said, "That's impossible. She couldn't have survived."
Also an idiot.
Yep. Then he said he guessed he had to tell the whole truth. Franz told the same story and showed no remorse. Ugh. He told him that before they were arrested, they had planned to murder another woman and throw her off a bridge. So thank God these men were apprehended.
Also, so frustrating that they had slipped through so many times.
Yep.
But I'm really glad that they were caught as early as they were.
Right.
Because clearly they would have assaulted and probably killed other people. So props, because I feel like a lot of these cases, it's like weeks or months before they're found.
Right. Franz was 25 years old at the time, and he had a wife and child.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Not that Franz and Tien's identity was ever really in question, but Alison had to pick them out of a lineup of 14 men. She identified both men in less than 30 seconds.
I am not surprised at all.
Nope.
Yep.
The trial of Franz and Tien's was known as the Nordhoek Ripper trial, and it began on June 12th, 1995. The term Ripper refers to a person who mutilates his victims, and Nordhoek is the area in Cape Town, South Africa.
Okay. Yep.
Alison was slated to testify, so like the other witnesses, she was sequestered and wasn't allowed in the courtroom until after her testimony. The first person to testify was the woman who Franz raped in February. The woman had been surveying a pizza joint when Franz pounced on her. Ugh. He shoved a gun to her head and told her to move over in her car. He drove her out to Nordhoek and raped her. He then took her to a restaurant and bought her a sandwich in a rose.
What the fuck?
Before taking
Super evil.
Yep. Before taking her back and then raping her again.
Oh my God.
When he dropped her off, he told her she was an amazing person and that he hoped he could make it up to her sometime.
Sick in the head.
Yeah. Go die?
Yeah.
The pregnant woman who was raped in December testified, as did a woman who said that Franz and Tien's tried to accost her during the same day Alison was taken, but she was able to lock her doors in a split second and the man ran off.
Oh my God.
So when you said, had she jumped out of the car, like, would he have left? I think he would have.
Oh my God.
I think he would have.
That's insane.
Then it was Alison's turn. Alison's direct testimony lasted 2 hours, and she spoke clearly and confidently with not a single tear shed.
Oh my God. And so a couple thoughts on that. One, I never really thought about how witnesses couldn't watch the whole like proceedings before them. But obviously, as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, that makes sense. But I was thinking when the first victim who had said, oh, he got in the car, told me to move over. Like that was exactly what happened with Alison. So that makes sense. And then the point about her not shedding a tear, I have seen cases where that actually works against the victim. I mean, I'm not worried about it in this case. Right. But they're like, oh, she's cold. No, that must not have actually happened. Which
that happened in the Colleen Stan trial too. They had to put someone on the stand to be like, she's. Yeah. This is because she like is dead inside now, like from this experience.
That was the one where she had the bad affect. I believe you struggled with
Yes, I did struggle with the
we said affect. Affleck.
Yeah. It took a minute.
Anyway, so those were my thoughts so far.
Okay. Also, I realized the tree frogs and the highway is very loud tonight. So
it is.
If you guys,
the highway is alive tonight. That's a Springsteen song.
Okay. I said it's loud tonight, not alive tonight.
I am just ad-libbing.
Okay. Well, thanks. This is what it sounds like in my house, guys. So welcome. Franz, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say no cat, though.
No, not yet.
Even though we told him he could make noise.
We did.
He's loved.
People really loved him.
Yeah.
He has some gremlin fans. His name is Finney, if anyone is interested. Franz and Tien's counsel put on a show on cross-examination, trying to pick at small details in Alison's story, but man, those lawyers were up Schitt's Creek without a paddle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Tien testified about their more than 90-minute wait for the ambulance, and the doctors testified about the extent of Alison's injuries. Dr. Angelov's testimony ended when he said he could not medically explain how Alison survived. It was a miracle.
My God.
After evidence was complete, Judge Chris Jansen spoke quickly and deliberately. He convicted Franz on 2 counts of rape, 2 charges of indecent assault, and 2 of abduction, and further charges of attempted murder and theft. Tien's was convicted on the same charges. Next came the mitigation phase for sentencing, with Alison's side putting up evidence for harsh punishment and the defense putting on evidence that they hoped would spark leniency from the court.
Fuck off.
During the mitigation phase, clinical psychologist Dr. Gillian Smale testified about Alison's mental state. In sum, she said that Alison was suffering from chronic PTSD and major depression.
Yeah.
Because she was always concerned about others and didn't want to worry others, she suppressed her emotions to her detriment, causing additional feelings of alienation. And honestly, few people would live to tell Alison's tale, so her mental state is uncharted territory.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. Franz testified and tried to weave a tale that would alleviate his culpability. Franz began his testimony by apologizing for his ponytail. He said he couldn't get a decent haircut in prison. Such a gentleman.
Yeah, that's going to go over really well.
Right. It's like, sorry, my hair is shaggy. He said he was the son of a policeman and a church-going family, but he began to dabble in Satanism. He fell in with a bad crowd and was kicked out of school after he lit fire to one of the hostels because the background track of music inspired him to do it when he played it backwards. After moving to a new school, he was drawn to a girl who was the head of a coven who felt he had supernatural powers. She would summon demons through herself and speak in manly voices. He failed out of school, so his parents shipped him to the army. Even there, he found other Satanists, and they formed a cell. When he came home, he married a young woman and had a child, but the relationship ended after 18 months. He returned to Port Elizabeth and met his current wife, Natalie, in 1993.
Oh, so he has another, ex-wife and another child. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
He performed a ritual on Natalie, asking the devil for a son born on his birthday and for Natalie to be so spellbound with him that she would never leave. His son Joshua was born on his birthday. And Natalie stuck by Franz throughout the whole trial, which this is proof of Satan, for sure. Yep. The crimes he committed were attributable to a demon called Incubus, who entered his life when he was 15. The demon, he said, made him sexually insatiable, highly attractive to women, and gave him telekinetic powers.
Highly attractive or highly attracted?
I have attractive in my notes.
I was just wondering if he thought that women liked him or he just really liked women.
I think that he thought women liked him.
Okay. Yep, the ego checks out.
Yep. Franz met Tien's in June 1994. At that time, Tien's was healing from a self-inflicted shotgun wound to the foot, which I love that journey for him. You fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I guess you don't do that on purpose. Mm-hmm.
No. Franz introduced Tien's to Satanism and began calling him Damien, which meant son of the devil. The day Franz abducted Alison, he said he was under the influence of incubus who told him to rape and kill a pretty woman.
Mm-hmm. The devil made me do it. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
We've seen that defense before.
Yep.
He had seen Alison park her car and walk to her flat previously. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time that night. But all of it was incubus's fault.
Uh-huh.
When he first started strangling her, he was surprised at how peaceful Alison was. He was going to let her go, but incubus cheered him on. When they dragged her out of the car, Franz was stabbing her abdomen, hoping to hit her liver, kidneys, and incubus told him to destroy her private parts. Tiens had jumped in and cut Alison's throat, and although the wound was superficial, Franz said the sight of blood made him go berserk, and he elbowed Tiens out of the way and began slashing away.
Did he think this was going to go over well with the jury?
It's the judge.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
he must have thought that this would be helpful.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wait, I have a wait. Why was there not a jury? Why is it only the judge?
I think the mitigation phase. I think it was all bench trials.
Oh. Okay.
I think.
I
didn't read anything about a jury.
Okay.
And the judge ruled from the bench. So I also don't know anything about South African judicial systems.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing just based on how this is written that it was just the judge. So when I say bench trial, it means that the judge is the trier of fact.
Oh.
And the judge is the one that's doing the sentencing.
Okay. And does the judge usually do the sentencing and the jury is the trier of fact?
Yes. And the judge usually does
Here,
the sentencing. But like here, if you have like a death penalty case or if you're like going for, there's like certain statutes that can have like, sentence enhancers. Sometimes those can require the input of the jury. Like for the mitigation phase of a death penalty case, they present evidence and then, they can decide whether or not the person is
okay. Fascinating. Thank you.
eligible for death.
Just a little sneak Marina's legal corner there.
Which may or may not apply at all to South African.
You didn't just
judicial
go
systems.
to South African law school?
I thought about it, but I decided against it.
Thank you though.
Yeah. When Franz said when he had finished, he said he felt an extremely strange feeling, like God was looking at me and was asking me, "What have you done? Now you have gone too far." The feeling, he said, unsettled him. After abandoning Alison's car, they drank their last beer and went to bed. They slept late until 11 and then made breakfast with the knife covered in Alison's blood.
Fucked up.
He was relieved that he was arrested, he said, because he planned to kill someone else the day after he tried to kill Alison.
Wow. So it is crazy. Like if any of what he said is true about his feelings and God and whatever, then it sure lines up with her surviving and all that. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Franz's parents and his wife, Natalie, also testified on his behalf.
Wow.
In rebuttal, a colonel from the police occult division testified that Franz could not have been possessed by a demon and that he was responsible for his actions.
So not even your bullshit excuse is acceptable.
Right.
Okay.
Also, I don't know why I didn't know that that was a job because I kind of want it.
For real.
I kind of want that job.
Wow.
He said if he was possessed, he would have raped his own wife, and he also wouldn't have had the presence of mind to use a condom in the first rape. The colonel believed in Satanism and possession, but he said if a demon suggests something, the person has the will to not obey. And if they are fully possessed, they do not have a recollection of the crime.
Wow. So wrong, and wrong.
Isn't it crazy, though, that they put on somebody to talk about like possession?
As an expert.
Yes.
Like, and a recognized expert.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The colonel said people possessed would often show remorse and guilt after an exorcism. Wow. Tiens didn't testify, but a clinical psychologist testified on Tiens' behalf. He described his loveless upbringing. His father was a drug-addicted philanderer who had abandoned him as a child and was currently in jail. Tiens also served in the army and said he had blown off a woman's head when she swore at the police. Tiens laughed in court at that. The judge asked the psychologist why Tiens would laugh at that, and the psychologist said that he couldn't say.
Oh my God.
Tiens was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and low self-esteem, which, I'm sorry, that's not enough to excuse the behavior that you have exhibited.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yep.
Then they took a 2-week recess. During that break, Alison did a full interview with You magazine. She wanted to give strength and a voice to rape victims who often feel ashamed or blamed for the crimes committed against them. Alison told the magazine the article could be published only after the sentence had been handed down. The pair were sentenced on August 7th, 1995. The judge said he rejected Franz's possession claim and did not believe that Tien's was an innocent participant who had merely been influenced by Franz.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
He said he felt the two men did what they did because they felt like it. The men were inherently evil and a danger to society. For the 3 rapes and the attempted murder, Franz was given a sentence of life in prison.
Good.
Tien's was given 25 years for the rape in December and life imprisonment for Alison's case.
That's right.
In the end, Franz had 3 life terms and Tien's had 25 years and 1 life term. In an effort to further protect society, Judge Jansen also said, I make the following order. I insist that this judgment be typed up and 2 copies sent to the relevant authorities at the Department of Correctional Services to be placed on the files of the 2 accused. It must be clear that if at any time in the future there is any consideration for parole, it was my intention that these 2 men be removed from society for the rest of their natural lives, that they should spend it behind bars.
Wow. Powerful. I've had goosebumps almost this entire case, but that just
I love that
landed
judge.
it. Yes.
So the worst was behind her at this point, but Alison's recovery had really just begun. She'd returned to her life as quickly as possible, but she couldn't outrun the physical and emotional damage that was done to her from her near-death experience. Alison decided that in order to truly recover, she needed to face what had happened to her, and she did that by telling her story. Alison began traveling around the world, telling her story in at least 35 countries.
Oh my God.
She was one of the first women from South Africa to speak publicly about her rape, which inspired other survivors to come forward. To say she's an inspiration is the understatement of the century.
For sure.
In 1995, Alison won the prestigious Rotarian Paul Harris Fellow Award for Courage Beyond the Norm and Femina Magazine's Women of Courage Award. She was also honored as Port Elizabeth's Citizen of the Year. And she wasn't the only award winner. Tien also received the Paul Harris Award for humanitarianism for his involvement in Alison's tale of survival.
I don't think she would have survived without him.
No.
Right? Like, I mean, I guess that's very obvious, but it's just, I mean, it's incredible.
He was the calming presence that kept her awake.
And like physically,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely. It was around this time that Alison would also meet her soon-to-be husband, Tien, at a party.
Wow.
I know the names are hard.
Very similar.
Yes.
They're all very similar.
Tien, and Tien.
A lot of vowels. A lot of differing vowels. You're doing a great job.
Okay, Tien. She met him at a time in his life when he was at an all-time low, exhibiting classic signs of depression. They were at a party together, and he had gone up to the roof. When Alison went to sit with him on the rooftop, Tien found Alison to be a calming presence, and he unloaded everything he'd been holding in.
Oh, jeez.
They ran into each other at events like the Citizen of the Year award dinner, and they made excuses to spend more time together. Alison even offered to pay for him to go on a vacation to get him out of his funk, going to the travel agent with him to talk about destinations.
Oh my God.
They were good for each other, and in June 1996, Tien proposed after a candlelit meal. The couple were married on February 15th, 1997, in a tiny stone church in Neisner.
Good job.
I wrote a pronunciation key and I couldn't read it.
Yeah, I've done that to myself too. Yeah.
Neisner, South Africa, and honeymooned in Mombasa.
Wow.
6 years later, Alison gave birth to the first of her 2 sons, which...
what? Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Which she says are her greatest gift of all. Franz had specifically tried to destroy her reproductive organs, but he failed.
Sorry, I
know.
keep interrupting
That's
because
all right.
my response is delayed because I'm like taking a second to collect myself, but I've been on borderline tears this whole episode.
I know. It's unbelievable. Alison has written 2 books, and a movie was released in 2016 called Alison, depicting her story. Alison said, I'm a different person today. I can never be the same Alison. I can never make what happened to me go away, but I have, by adopting a positive attitude, not allowed it to remain a burden. She said, remind yourself that you do not have to take responsibility for what others do. Life is not a collection of what happens to you, but of how you've responded to what has happened to you.
I will be writing that quote on a Post-it and bringing it places with me because I love it.
It's unbelievable.
profound.
She like it's a much more eloquent a much more
It's
a
far
much
more
more
eloquent than that.
eloquent way to say don't be a victim of your circumstances.
Yeah. Wow. 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 Wow.
I want to say the end, but I can't. Last year, in 2023, Franz and Tiens had served a mandatory minimum and were being considered for parole. On her Facebook page, Alison wrote, "The day I hoped and prayed would never come. When I was asked, 'How will you feel if they ever get parole?' my immediate answer was always, 'I'm hoping I'll never find out.' Unfortunately, she did." Alison got an email on June 23rd, 2023, letting her know that Franz would be released on July 4th.
You're fucking kidding me.
Nope. After serving 28 years, both Franz and Tiens were released on July 4th, 2023, and placed on parole. Alison learned about Tiens' release from the media.
Oh my God. What? How did they manage that?
I don't know.
Especially with the judge's like extra note.
I know. And the judge was asked about it. There was like an article that interviewed him. And basically he said, "It's not up to me. I did my job.
Yeah.
I did what I could do. And it's out of my hands."
That's the
basically
right thing for a judge to say.
Right. But I mean, there literally
damn.
was nothing for him to do.
Wow.
In an official statement, the Department of Correctional Services explained that the men had served the minimum required time and had to be considered for parole in compliance with the Correctional Services Act.
It is correct. Like, I get it, but fuck.
The two men must comply with specific parole conditions and will be supervised for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
Now, it is unfathomable. The words are escaping me.
We need to create a new one for this.
I don't know about the justice system in South Africa, but I'm pretty sure that they would not be released if they were in the U.S.
I don't think so.
No. And I find it shocking, but also the judge, the investigators, basically anyone that was close to this case was also shocked and appalled that these men were granted parole. Okay, so this is a little plug for Alison. Alison is on TikTok as Alison, ALISON_ I have life, all one word. Go follow her, support her, because this woman is literally a miracle. There's like really, her bio is survivor, inspirational speaker, just an ordinary person. Ma'am, you are extraordinary. You are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking about this case to one of our gremlins today, and she was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I was in that position, I would just die.
Of course, anyone.
You would be like, I can't do this. Yeah.
Wow.
And she was given, in the book, there's even more in the book about like how she feels, her thoughts. Like, I mean, it literally was written from, it's like reading what a murder victim experiences,
God,
honestly.
Wow.
Really, it's like unheard of. So seriously, read the book. But just the fact that she said she literally was floating above her body. And
do you know my aunt? So my aunt, when she had two really tough births from my cousins who are older than me, so it was a long time ago. But she told me a story of when she was giving birth to I think my oldest cousin, how she had an out-of-body experience, and same thing, like saw her family and like had to make a decision to go back.
Oh my gosh.
She obviously tells it in far more detail.
Right.
But that was the first thing I thought of.
Oh my God.
Just insane.
Was she like bleeding out?
I think so. I should know all the details, but I don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Really crazy.
But yeah. And then she said when she had seen the headlights in the bushes and realized they were closer, she's like, I want to live. And she's like that. It was like, she just snapped right back into her body.
It was all crazy, but when you said her head went back, I can't even process that.
Oh, I know.
I'm still thinking about it.
Like, how could your spine, like how your spinal cord wouldn't snap, how like there was just enough tendons left to keep it attached to her head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow.
So Alison is the baddest bitch I can think of ever.
Yeah. And we've had some impressive people.
We really have.
But good God.
This one far exceeds.
And this really, whatever you believe in makes you think of there's something beyond, because holy shit.
Well, it's one of those, you had doctors and scientists that were like,
We don't know.
cannot
Yeah.
explain how she survived.
Holy shit. Wow. You're right.
Unbelievable.
This is nothing like anything we've ever gone through.
I have never
Who
read
was
a
it?
case
Cheyenne?
like this.
Cheyenne was the
Cheyenne.
suggester.
Cheyenne
Okay,
R.
I take it back. I don't hate you, Cheyenne.
We love you, Cheyenne.
It wasn't assaulting my ear holes in quite the same way. I mean, it was in different ways, but I feel like I don't even want to use that phrase after this case.
I know. It was something. But anyway, everyone go follow Alison on her TikTok, and everyone go read her book because it is insane, and we should all support her in any way that you can because she has life.
Yeah.
She lived.
I love that. Wow.
She lived.
Wow.
So Laura's not, but if you're enjoying listening to Grimm, please rate and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you don't miss any episodes. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, make our day by leaving us a written review because we love them. You can find our page on Facebook by searching Grimm: a true crime podcast. If you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can go to Patreon and search Grimm: a true crime podcast. If subscriptions aren't your thing, you could buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/grimcrimepodcast. And if you donate $5 or more, we will send the first 200 donors a 4-inch Grimm die cut sticker, which is pretty sweet. Follow us on Instagram at Grimm Crime Podcast for information on future episodes and case photos. If you want to send us a case suggestion or just say hi like Cheyenne did, you can email us at grimcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Listen, learn, and stay alive until next time because the future is grim.